Good evening, you're watching Rebooting India. I'm Shweta Rajpal. Kohli. 2 days after CBI filed an FIR against well-known industrialist Kumar Mangalam Birla and former Coal Secretary P C Parakh in the coal block allocation scam, India Inc. has hit back, saying corporate leaders cannot be made scapegoats of mere suspicion. To talk about the recent developments and the state of the Indian economy, with me on the show today, one of India's most powerful women, Naina Lal Kidwai, Ficci President and Director HSBC Asia Pacific. Many thanks, ma'am, for being with us here on NDTV. Let me first start by talking to you about a very strongly worded statement that you've put out as Ficci President. In fact, the industry body Ficci really surprised at the development of Mr Birla being booked by the CBI, and the statement says that capable and highly regarded officers and business leaders cannot be made scapegoats of mere suspicion and misconstrued actions. It is really a development that's taken corporate India by complete shock.
Yes, Shweta, and I think at the end of the day, what we've set out is that the time has come for courageous decision making that actually puts the industry back onto a growth trajectory. As you know, India's economy is actually dropping off the radar, and the latest figures showing at below 5% are nothing to be proud of. And just at a time when we're beginning to see the economy turn and some of the green shoots which can deliver growth going forward come back, we take steps such as this, which to my mind has the following effects. One, highly regarded and well-equipped bureaucrats end up not taking the right decisions, because those decisions come back to haunt them 8 to 10 years later. Bureaucrats and ministers don't want to meet industry because just the mere meeting is read as, well, you lobbied to change something, as if making a representation were wrong. You can only say there's wrongdoing if there was malified intention, or money changed hands, or something incorrect in terms of behavior followed. To purely make a recommendation, as seems to be suggested right now as the grounds for drawing a senior icon and a well-respected one from industry into this whole thing, really merits thinking. And the outcomes therein, in terms of actions now going forward, are particularly worrying. Now, what is really very significant is that something like this has got front page news now in not just our Indian papers, but a number of offshore papers as well.
So you're saying it's something that impacts India's image overseas?
Absolutely.
And this is someone we're talking about who operates in as many as 40 countries around the world. So what's the message that we're really sending out? I think I'd like to take forward some of the very critical points that you've raised, starting first about the impact that this would have clearly on the functioning of the bureaucracy, because here we've also got a top bureaucrat who's been booked, not just a top corporate leader. Bureaucrats increasingly seem to say they are too scared to act. Decision making is suffering simply because they do not want to sign files anymore. Isn't that a sad state of affairs, especially at a time when we want the economy to move forward rather quickly?
I think you've hit the nail on the head, and it's exactly actions such as this now which would really begin to put the fear of God into an officer, and you know, any well-respected officer as well, because the very fact that he was open to a representation, a representation which was made in the interest of industry. I understand the Chief Minister of Orissa also wrote in asking that this meant some 15,000 jobs for him in the state, and to allow for coal connectivity would give him that base. So how are we going to get jobs done in the country if we can't find solutions? And those solutions have to lie in the way industry gets established, and it gets established based on certain promises of the way it can operate, the ability to access raw material, as was the case here. So the pure aspect of making a in fact, as a supplicant, going in there and asking for something, a secretary then who recommends it and recommends it up, means it would have passed through, you know, a number of channels, and then in the interest of the country, or in the interest of jobs, or in the interest of a backward state like Orissa, if the agreement is to allow this to go ahead, and what was allowed to go ahead? I mean,
the allocation, but the charts
no,
that the CBI
it was not
has,
I mean, it's not just an allocation.
Right.
Essentially, it was to become a joint venture partner,
right,
and that to a 15% partner,
right,
along with a public sector undertaking, Neyveli Lignite.
Right.
Now, as a 15% partner in a joint venture, you tell me what, are you going to be able to do that is in any way contrary to the interests